So what would you think about in terms of a think aloud? Say like this is your first bullet, but you need to do a think aloud, but you also want to do a think aloud that rides us home, but you don't want to be too wordy when you do it. What might that look like, or how would you write that into your plan?
I would probably say something along the lines of, I know that my skeleton is made up of bone, and that bone is a type of tissue. And I think right now that if I don't have my bones, I would probably just fall to the ground. I wouldn't be able to stand.
How can you do that more with infusing the reading?
I think that's,
So for example, if I know that I need to hit these two first points, right? Skeleton is made mostly of tissue called bone. Your body cannot stand without its skeletal system. So I may read this like, can you touch your backbone, your ankle bone, and your knee? These are bones that are all part of your skeleton. Your skeleton is made mostly of a tissue called bone. And you might think aloud like, yeah, I know what bones are. So skeletons are made up of bone. Without the support of your skeleton, you would fall into a blob-like heap. Uh-oh. Now I'm starting to understand why these bones are so important. Let me keep reading. Just as a house could not stand without its wooden frame, your body cannot stand without its skeletal system. Let me take a moment to think about that. When I think of a house, I know the walls hold up a house, and if the walls fall down, the house is going to fall down. So now I'm knowing that without my skeleton, I would just be falling down because I would not have anything to pull me back up. I bet you that's a pretty important point that we're going to want to take notes down on. So then from there, what did you notice about how I did it versus how you did it today?
that you were thinking exactly within the text, like almost not stopping, but almost kind of like giving a slight, I don't even know the words to use. Like you're using an inflection in your voice and also kind of pausing after the important sections that you want to hit on and doing a really small think aloud literally from the text. Mm-hmm. So you're not just restating the information, but you're pulling it from the text, like coming to conclusions based off of what you're reading and how it's building.
Right. So tell me what your next steps are for this the science unit next week. This next week, upcoming plans. What is your plan?
So making sure that I have the text in front of me in terms of just going through it beforehand and figuring out what information is crucial for them to get down, but then going through the text and focus, like highlighting it to focus on it, and thinking of ways that I can come up with a way of doing a personal think aloud that's quick, that shows that I'm starting to make connections throughout the text based off of the information, and that I'm able to understand how it's building and what the information is trying to relay to the reader.
Okay, great. And then how are you going to hold yourself accountable for that?
Well, I'm going to make sure that I have it, my ideas or my think alouds scripted out either within the text or on the plan, so I have it right in front of me. Like, so for example, highlighting the text and then having like a note next to it, so this way it's right in front of me so that I know exactly what my thoughts are.
You could use a Post-it note. That would be easy, so that way you can maybe pre-write it and just stick it on in the section. That will help.